Hi, this is Kishore and welcome back to Kishorelytics. In this video, we're going to do something exciting and very interesting concept called the datetime functions, and we are going to discuss about the remaining part of the datetime functions, and we are getting to the null functions. Right, we are discussing about the null functions, what is meant with the null, and we are discuss about the lot of null functions in this video. I don't want to take much time of you guys. Let's dive into it. Yes guys, in this video we are going to dive something exciting about the date calculations. Already in my previous video we discussed about the datetime time functions, and the datetime functions can be categorized into the four more categories. And we are completed the part extraction part and the formatting and the castings. In the now the today's agenda is about the date calculations and the validations. Already we covered the part extraction. In the part extraction part we have discussed about the date, month functions, year functions, date part functions, date name functions, and date trunc functions, evo1 functions. And in the previous video, I think in the previous video we have discussed about the format and the casting, right? So how to format the dates, how to convert the dates from one date to another date data type, and we are going to see about the casting also in the previous video discussed. If you have missed that video, please make sure to watch that video and after to come to the video. So the today's agenda of this session is that I'm going to write it down here. That today's agenda is that the date calculation, and the second is that the validations. We are going to validate the date, whether it's a is date or maybe we have seen the some functions in the validation part. And last but not least, it is a very important function called the null functions. And at the end of the video we have just completed the single row functions, right? We have completed the single row function. These are the categories of the single row functions, right? We have discussed, right? In the previous video itself, in the previous video itself we discussed. Wait a minute, I will enter into them. So we are gone through a lot of topics, right? We are discussing the single row functions, we are discussing about the string functions, numeric functions, and data functions we are discussing, and null functions. Today we are completed the single row functions, right guys? We are completed the row level calculations. So subscribe to the Kishorelytics channel, and the next video we are discussing about the multi-row functions. So stay tuned for the next Tuesday. Until the next Tuesday, we completed the singular functions, and the next Tuesday we completed the multi-row functions. So stay tuned. Subscribe to the Kishorelytics channel. So now let's get into the date calculations part. Wait a minute, guys. Yes. So in the already we discussed date time categories in the four more categories. What are the part extraction, format and the casting, and the calculations. And today's agenda is about the date calculations. So now let's dive into it. Consider, guys, already we discussed about this date, right? 2025 8/20. Consider this is as well example date. So if we want to add this date to 3 years, if we want to add this after 3 years, what is the date now? I want to add, right? I'm giving this function to the dateadd function, means I'm giving this date to the dateadd functions, right? I'm going to write it down here. Dateadd functions means if I give this date to the dateadd functions, it will be what the interval, and the syntax has been delivered at the end of the video. Now we are going to discuss about three concepts, how has been working. So if I give this date to the data functions, it has been added to 3 years, and after they give us the output as the 2028 8/20. Again, if I give this date to the data functions and I want to add the 2 more years, means what is the output? 2025. I just want to add the month, right? So I just give which part in the data function itself. We are having a syntax, right? Part. So which part you want to going to be added in the functions? I'm showing the syntax, right? And now we are talking about this theoretical part and how it works begin the skins. Now only we are going to talk, and later we discuss about the syntax and more practical part also in the previous later sessions. So now if I want to add 2 more months to this from this date, means if I give this function to the data functions, means the output is that the 2025 10/20. And I want to add the 5 more days from today onwards to I want the 5 more days. What is the date after the 5 days? So what the date means, if I want to give this, I want to calculate, means just want to give this date to the data function. If I give this date to the data function, the output should be like this, right? 2025. I think this is not, this should be visible. The output should be 2025 08 8 August, I think, right? From 20, if you add the 10 more days, 5 more days, means the date should be 25. So that's the output, right? Again, if you want to minus, means that's the date diff functions. So that's like the data functions. So later we will discuss about the date diff functions, right? We are discuss about the date diff functions later. So now we are discussing about the data functions and the syntax. And the syntax for the And the syntax for the data functions is right there. DATEADD, the keyword of this data function is the DATEADD, and inside this which part, whether it may be the year, whether it may be the month, whether it may be the day, whatever it may be. And the second part is that the interval, how much it may be the 2 years, it may be the numbers, it may be the right, it may be the 2 years, it may be the 5 years, it may be the 5 days, whatever it may be, that is going to be the interval. And the date, it is mean by the order date or the order date, month date, whatever it may be in the data in the database, what are the date columns are to be added. That's what the data functions looks like. I hope I explained the data functions very clearly, right? So if I mention the data function very clear means let me know in the comment below. If you have any doubts means also let me know in the comment below. I'm happy to share all those doubts. So now let's dive into the DATEDIFF functions, right? So I want to I don't only want to add that functions. So I just look at the previous dates also, right? And so that's like there comes the DATEDIFF functions, right? Now we are discussing about the DATEDIFF functions. So consider this is an order date. I just want to convert this date in the in the previous year. I just want to convert, right? In the previous year, what is the previous year? If I add means this is the if I add this date to the if I add this date means if I give this date to the DATEDIFF functions, it gives the I just want to eliminate the 1 year. If I want to just subtract the 1 year means what is the output? Let me know in the comment below. What is the month? Let me know in the comment below. What is the day? Let me know in the comment below. These are the things we have discussed, right? So we are going to discuss about the DATEDIFF function. It is very similar. It is very similar. If we give this date to this DATEDIFF functions, if we give this date to the DATEDIFF functions means, so that's like I want to subtract 3 more years from now from 2025 to I just want to look at the 3 more years previous means if I give this date functions, if they give this date to the DATEDIFF functions means the output looks like this 2022 820. Right? So if I give this function to the DATEDIFF functions and I just want to look at the 2 more months before, 2 more previous months means I just look at this function. I'm just simply give the which part I'm going to be eliminated or added or differentiate. So how many intervals and how many which date, which column has to be considered to be the DATEDIFF functions. So that's what the DATEADD and DATEDIFF functions. I hope I clearly explained about the DATEADD and DATEDIFF functions, right? So syntax. The most DATEDIFF functions, right? Order date and this is the shipping date. I just want to calculate the difference between the date, right? So that's what the difference between. So adding means adding the days and differences mean between that difference between the 2 days. I'm going to write it down here. So difference between the 2 dates, whatever it may be, difference between the 2025 to 820 difference with I'm just giving these 2 dates. I just want to then see the differences between 28 2025. The differences between them is 5, right? So that's what the here. I just want to look at in this visual. I just want to look at the difference between the 2 days. 2025 8th August 20 date. I just want to shipping date is 2026 to 2nd February. It's 2nd February, right? And the first day. So if I look at this differences between them is the year is 1 year and the month is 3 months and the day is 68 days. So that's what, right? So that's what the DATEDIFF functions works. It difference that different it gives the output as the differences between the 2 dates. I'm again writing differences between the 2 dates. DATEADD functions means it's simple, right? If we just want to give the DATEADD part, interval and date. Which part you are going to be added and the interval, how many months, how many years, how many days, and date means which column you are going to be give to with the DATEADD function. That's what the DATEADD. So in the DATEADD it's completely different, like DATEDIFF, which part to whether it may be the year, whether it may be the month, whether it may be the day, whatever it may be the start date and the end date. Start date is nothing but the order date I discussed the previously, right? Order date, and the end date should be the shipping date, whatever it may be in that database you are having in the database. So I explained the DATEADD and DATEDIFF functions very clearly, right? So let's discuss about the validation part. So check, we are going to validate the date, right? So if the example for this validation of the date is whether you are eligible for the voting systems or not, it's considered to be the date, right? Birth date, right? It is to be considered as the birth date. Whether the date from I'm just born on the 2005 8 01. Consider this is the date, and in this date I just want to calculate from now whether the person is eligible, whether the person if the date is greater than 2005 the person is eligible, whether the person is less than 2005 the person is not eligible. Likewise we are there is many more conditions in the app itself. We are building the apps and we are creating the database, like many more conditions we are doing that with the working with the dates. So that's what I'm coming with the validation part. So this is going to be considered as the validation part, and this is the last topic. I think we are completed. This is the last topic for the datetime functions. I hope datetime functions takes most video, right? More videos about the datetime function. We discuss about clearly about the datetime functions. If you don't watch this video, please make sure to pause that video and after come to this video. So we are going to check if the value is the date and returns one if a string value is a valid date. It returns one whether it's a valid date. So is date of value. We are going to check whether the date is value or the string. So whether if you want this means it gives the output as a 2025. That's what the visual tells. So now let's discuss about the null functions later. So now let's dive into it. Yes guys, in the previous videos we have discussed previous sessions we have discussed about the datetime functions and we have completed the datetime functions, right? So now let's get into the null functions. So what is meant by the null functions, right? Before getting into the null functions, we want to know something about the what are the nulls. So what is meant by the nulls? If you know the answer, let me know in the comment below. I'm going to explain about the nulls. So null is going, I'm telling about the nulls is called the unknown information. Unknown information. Right. So what are the nulls means? If the interviewer asks about the what means the nulls means, it's known. You can able to tell the null is called the unknown function, unknown informations. Right. Consider guys, this is the register in the this is the registration form. I going to build and in the registration form has to be stored in the database. So right, the first name is mandatory and the middle name is optional. The user cannot give the middle name. So many of the users, many of the subscribers do not have the middle name, right? They have the first name and the last name. Middle name doesn't have many of the persons. So it's going to be the optional. The developers made the logic as the middle name is going to be act as the optional. So the last name is going to be act as the mandatory part. So now in this many of the users and many of the peoples give the first name and the last name. So middle name is optional, right? So we don't want to give the middle name as the mandatory part. So it is going to be stored as a null. It is going to be stored as a null. So that's what the unknown information tells. That's what the unknown information tells, right? Unknown information tells. Okay, guys, let me introduce another keyword and another function called the COALESCE. We want to discuss our differences between the ISNULL and the COALESCE. Later we will discuss about the what is mean the ISNULL, what is mean the COALESCE. So I think we discuss after we discuss about the ISNULL and the COALESCE, right? Let me discuss about the ISNULL. So what is mean the ISNULL? It checks whether it replaces the null with specified replace value. The definition itself tell we are going to replace the null with specified replacement value. We are going to in the syntax itself like is null of value which date. It may be the shipping date, it may be the order date. The replacement value is the whether it going to be the one, whether it may going to be the NA, whether it going to be the otherwise, whatever it may be, right? If we give this date to the functions, it will be we are going to give the replacement part. After this replacement part, the date should be act as like a NA. Likewise. So that's all. So this is right. If his value is null, it checks whether the value is null. If it is yes, whether the value is yes, it is going to be replace the value. Whether the value is no, the value is remains as it will. Okay. Whether you guys are understands about the is null, it means whether the replaces the null value with some replacement part. Replacement value. Okay. Yes, the main interesting part in SQL server, if you are following along with me means you can use the ISNULL. If you are following along with the Oracle server means you can use the NVL. So if you are using the MySQL, if you are using the MySQL workbench means you can use the ISNULL. So that's what the ISNULL in different servers, different workbenches like SQL, MySQL, Oracle and SQL server. So now let's discuss about the COALESCE. So now let's dive into it. Yes guys, we are discussing about the ISNULL functions and we are discussing if you are following along with me, you can use the ISNULL functions. If you are following the Oracle sermons, you can use the NVL. NVL, and if you are using the MySQL workbench means you should use the if null functions. Now let's dive into the COALESCE. What is mean by the COALESCE, right? So it returns the first non-null value from the given expression. What does it mean? I'm explaining very well. It returns the first non-null value from the given expression. So for this I have a separate example for you guys. So consider what the SQL COALESCE does means. In the COALESCE, the SQL functions, see here, right? In the SQL function that returns the first non-null value from the list of expressions. It returns the first non-null value. That's the meaning of the COALESCE functions, right? So the syntax for that is the COALESCE of expression 1, expression 2 and the expression 3. For this you are doing some easy, your mind has been collapsed, right? So now I am giving the easy example. With that example you can definitely understand the COALESCE functions. So consider this is a query. Select COALESCE of, I'm just giving using the functions COALESCE of mobile phone mobile and no contact available as the contact info. Okay guys, do you guys are aware of the contact info, right? So now it's the meaning of this, right? If the phone number is not null means it return the phone. Else it is like the if else statement, right? If else, that's like if the phone number is not null it returns the phone. Else if the phone number is not null it returns the mobile. The second column is that the expression 2 is mobile, right? Second column is the mobile, right? Else if the mobile number is not null it returns the mobile. Else it returns the no contact available. Third expression, whether it find the not null value, first not null value from the list of expressions. So that's what the it tells about the COALESCE. I think you guys are beware of the COALESCE, right? I'm explaining very clearly, right? COALESCE of expression 1. I'm just telling about the expression 1, expression 2, expression 3. Whether the value 1 is yes null, it checks whether the value 1 is null. If it yes means it goes to the value 2, and it checks the value 2 is whether the value 2 is null. If the value 1 itself null means whether the value is 1 itself null means it goes to the value 1. That's what I'm clearly explaining, right? If the value 1 is null, if the value is 1, yes, the value is 1 is null, it goes to the value 2. Whether the value 1 is not null, it remains the value 1. That's what the COALESCE works, right? I'm explaining very. If we are using three expressions, right? Expression 1, expression 2 and expression 3. Whether it checks whether the value 1 is null or not. Yes, whether the value 1 is null. You see whether the value 1 is null, right? So it checks to the second, moves to the second value. And second expression, if the value 2 is null or not, whether it checks whether the value is yes, right? So if it yes means it goes to the value 2. If the value is not null means it returns the value 1. If the value 2 is not null means it returns the value 2. That's like what it happens, right? So now let's dive into the practical part. I think, are you guys beware of the COALESCE, right? We have discussed about the ISNULL and the COALESCE part. So now we have discussed about the differences between the ISNULL and the COALESCE. It is limited to the two values, right? Here the limited to the two values. We are giving the one value, right? Replacement is one value, but it is unlimited. But it is a faster, right? ISNULL is very fast when you are using the replacement value. So here there is only two value. There you can use the here, so only it is fast. So the disadvantage is that it is very slow, right? It is very slow because we are using unlimited expressions. Value 1, value 2, value 3. It will check whether the value 1 is not, whether the value 2 is yes or null, whether the value 3 is yes or null. It goes like this. And it is in SQL, we discuss in SQL Server, we discuss is null. Yeah, Oracle, it NVL, MySQL, if null. And it is available in all databases, right? MySQL, Oracle, PostgreSQL, everything. It is available in all database. Let's discuss about the is null. It replaces the null value with a specific replacement value. That is the is null. And we are discussing about the COALESCE. We written the first non-null value. We are discussing about some interesting examples also. The coding part also we have discussed about the COALESCE. Right. So now we discuss about the NULLIF. So I think this is not writing well. Null if, guys, it returns the conditions. It returns the null if both the values are equal. Otherwise, it returns the first value. It checks null if of value 1 or value 2. Here I am giving the original patch. I am giving the discount price. Whether it checks that both the values are equal. Otherwise, it returns the first value. Whether the both values, it checks whether the two values are equal. If it is yes means it returns the null value. If it is no means it returns the value 1. That's what the NULLIF explains, right? So you guys visually I'm just explaining the visuals, right? If you see the visuals itself, you can confirmly you should understand this NULLIF. Again I'm telling, it returns null if it returns null if the both values are true, both values are equal. That means only the true, right? Both values are equal. It returns both values are equal. It returns null. If the both values are not equal, it returns the value 1. That's what the NULLIF functions works. So again there is two conditions. There is an we have discussed about the ISNULL. We have discussed about the ISNULL. We have discussed about the COALESCE. In the null functions we are discussing, right? ISNULL completed, COALESCE completed, NULLIF we are completed right now. So now we are going to move on the certain topics called the ISNULL. So far we have completed. What are the topics we have completed? Null function we are discussing. We are discussing about the NULLIF and COALESCE. Now we are going to discuss about the ISNULL, right? It checks whether the value is null or not. That's a basic condition, right? It checks whether the value is null. It checks whether the value is null. If it is yes means it returns true. Whether the value is not null means it returns false. That's what the condition. That's what the function works, right? I will guess beware of NULLIF, ISNULL. We have discussed about the right now. We have discussed about the. I'm going to write it down. NULLIF, ISNULL. Very confusing, right? COALESCE, and we have discussed about the ISNULL, right? ISNULL we have discussed now only. Okay, NULLIF, ISNULL, COALESCE, and ISNULL. Okay, we have discussed, completed. So now the use cases of the ISNULL, right? So in SQL, where to use the ISNULL, where to use the COALESCE, where to use the NULLIF, where to use the ISNULL, right? We have discussed. So where to use? That's what the visual explains. In SQL, use ISNULL instead of equal to null. Equal to null to collect the filter rows within the null values. Consider, and this is not to be. I think this definition is not perfect. Now let's dive into this example. In this example, when we explain the example, you should definitely explain the definitions also. You can able to understand the definitions. So now I consider this is an ID 1 and sales. For first ID there is sales of 100, the second ID is the sales of 200, the third ID is sales of null. Okay guys, if you put where the sales is equal to 100 means you can easily extract the filter. You can usually extract the rows, right? Filtering the rows is exactly where sales is equal to 100. It's okay, completely working fine. So now when you use the where sales equal to null, like you want to find the null is also the value, right? So when you put the sales is equal to 100, you get the values of, and id 1 is the sales of null, 100 sales. So when you put like this where sales equal to null, likewise you put means there is no result. That shows there is a error. Maybe it shows some error, warning errors also is shown in the output box. So now for that we have the solutions, right? Where you can use the where sales is null. There only the ISNULL is to be used in the filtering rows. Are you guys beware? I'm successfully explaining, right? If you put the sales equal to 100, you can easily extract the rows where ID 1 is equal to sales. You can get the output and you can go. You can deliver it to the manager, business analyst, whatever it may be. If you put the where sales is equal to null means it doesn't got the results, right? So that's what the where sales is null. If you put like this means you can easily extract where the ID is null, right? So the SQL knows where ID is null means we want to extract the output where the third ID is the null. So we want to extract the third ID. So the third ID is to be getting as the output, right? So I'm explaining very clear and very well, right? So now we are discussing about the null versus empty versus blank. So now we discuss about the null, empty, string. It is to be considered as a string, right? The blank space is also considered to be as a string. The data type. Later we will discuss some many more things about like this. So the representation of the null is the null only, where the empty string is to be considered as single quotes, and then blank space means within the single quotes there is blank space. So the meaning is that the unknown. In the beginning of the video itself I'm told, right? The null is equal to what's means the null. Many of my subscriber, if you know, let me know in the comment below. I'm happy to share all those notes, all those scripts also available, all those notes also are in the description box. So now we are reading the Kishorelytics LMS portal. We are readying, we are continuously working on the LMS portal, and soon it will be ready within the week, I think so. And all those scripts are available at the LMS portal, and the practice problems, we are introducing practice problems also. If you learn the video, you should take the quiz, right? So I don't just want to learn the video, I just want to see my subscribers to learn and practice. So I'm creating a own environment of Kishorelytics. So let me introduce Kishorelytics LMS portal within a week, and after you guys go and register the LMS portal, you can access whatever it may be, whether all the YouTube videos are also embedded in that LMS portal. And the LMS portal, you can add the take the notes, and you can extract some videos also, and you can all the script, all my scripts, all my PDF, all my PPTs, all my GitHub profiles are also extracted in the video, and the minimum features are also available. I'm just blabber about my Kishorelytics LMS portal. So guys, keep supporting. LMS portal is on the way to the subscribers. So subscribe to the Kishorelytics channel, and lot of updates, lot of free more courses, and the Kishorelytics almost free. Everything is for free only, guys. You don't want to pay a single money for me. Everything, you just go to the Kishorelytics LMS portal. You can register that, and you can take the courses to learn. You can watch our videos, and you can take the notes in that portal itself. And if you want to practice the quiz, and you can practice, and it evaluates your scores also. And if you want to retake the quiz means also, you're able to retake. And all my notes like PPTs, GitHub profiles, and scripts, all those scripts also are available. PDF, everything is to be uploaded in the portal only. Hereafter the Kishorelytics LMS portal only is available in the description box. All those things are available in the Kishorelytics LMS portal only. You just every subscriber wants to register the Kishorelytics LMS portal. That's my wish. So keep praying, stay tuned, subscribe to the Kishorelytics channel. So now let's dive into the meaning of the unknown, meaning of the null, right? Meaning is equal to unknown, right? So we have discussed about meaning. Meaning is equal to unknown information, right? Unknown information. So what is mean by the meaning of empty string? It is known, but the empty value. So it is it is known, right? But it is an empty value. It is known, but a space value. That's what the meaning of this null, empty, blank space. So what is meaning that? What are the data types for the null, empty string, blank space? The data type for the null is special marker, and the data type is string, and the data type is string. The storage for the null is very minimal. The storage for the empty string is occupies very memory. It occupies memory, right? Without for the empty string, why we want to give the memory? Memory is very crucial part in the nowadays, right? So we want to optimize memory. So we want to eliminate the empty string. So occupies the memory. It may occupies more memory. Each space occupies the more memory. So the performance wise, the null is best. So we are unknown information means we can tell the null, right? So the empty string fast, but blank space is very slow. The comparison we have discussed is null equal to empty string, and the part for filtering the rows. This is for filtering the rows, right? For filtering the rows, right? I'm happy to explain this all those concepts. So we discuss about the null functions, right? So null functions can be many of the persons in the data types. Many of the PhD students will tell null is considered to be data type as a special markers. This is to be asked as a quiz in the LMS portal also, whatever it may be. I'm at this all those quiz. What are the teaching part has to be available for the video that should be uploaded in our portal. You may go to our portal, you may take the quiz, you may get a score. You can enhance your learning part, and lot of updates are also I'm giving one by one. Using null can optimize the storage and performance. That's what the null we have discussed, right? So we are discussing about the use cases, right? It handles the null values, data aggregation part is working fine, and it handles the nulls for mathematical expression, mathematical operations we are handling. For handling the nulls, we are going to join the tables, right? For joining, we are discussing about the left antigen and right antigen, and the antigen that the null part, right? So that's what we are discussing in the join videos. If you missed that video, please make sure to watch that video also. So handle null means it's called the starting data, right? So we are going to handle the value for starting the data, for finding the unmatched value, left antigen, and the date policies, right? Null different default value. That's how we are discussed, right? So I think we completed the everything. We completed the everything about the null functions, right? So I think we have completed the null functions. We have completed the single row functions. We have successfully completed the single row functions, right? There are so many parts, so many videos about the single row functions. Now let's dive into the multi row functions in the next more video. Until this next Tuesday, this is Kishore and signing up from Kishorelytics channel. Tata, bye bye. Subscribe to the Kishorelytics channel, guys. Tata, bye bye.